It's unbelievable that I'm at this point, but here I am. My soon-to-be ex-wife, 28 female, and I, 29 male, have wanted kids for years and were thrilled when she finally got pregnant last year. From day one, I wanted to be the most supportive husband and future father I could be. Her father was never involved in her life. I used to work as a technician in labor and delivery, and my brother, to put it kindly, is not the most involved father. I saw too many problems up close when it came to lacking husbands, and I was determined not to make the same mistakes. The problem is, roughly 4 weeks into her pregnancy, everything started going downhill. She stopped wanting sex, fair enough. Hormones and stress can make that difficult, so we stopped. But then she did not want any physical interaction, no cuddling, no kissing. She slowly became more and more distant. Her eating habits constantly changed, and she was terrible about it. She would demand I get her something all day, then the moment I gave it to her, she wanted something else, often screaming at me. Okay, again, hormonal issues, I get it, no problem. She never let me go to any appointments, no groups she attended, and spent more time away from home. She became cold and bitter, constantly angry at me. This went on for months. She slapped me a couple of times when I forgot one of the dozen of tasks she assigned me during the day. She stopped doing anything for the house a month into the pregnancy. Sure, she is pregnant, I get it. Moving around is hard, but she would not even do laundry for about 4 weeks in, and by 5 weeks I was doing everything. I am also the primary source of income. I barely sleep. I am running on fumes. She made me sleep in the guest room and always tried to pick fights. I never once raised my voice, my hand, or my tone. I constantly reminded myself that this was not her and that it would all be worth it. She did not want me to make any baby decisions. No name, no work on the nursery, nothing. 1 month before she delivered, she yelled how useless I am and how I do not do anything, and that she was staying with her mother. She did not let me get her anything, come check on her, and threatened to divorce me and get a restraining order if I even called her. A couple of weeks back, I found out about the birth of my son from a Facebook post. She posted it with her mother and some family. It broke me. I tried to go to the hospital and visit, but they had security kick me out. After months of outright hatred, anger, and abuse thrown at me 24/7, I had it. Odds are I am not even on the birth certificate. I opened a new account and all my deposits go there. I took half out of our joint account. She never bought baby stuff ahead of time. Who knows what that money was going towards. So now she has to buy supplies for her son. She has used up every cent. I have gotten a lawyer. The house is mine. I am the only one who spent money on it in any way. I have sent the rest of her stuff to her mother's house. I am demanding a paternity test. I am not spending another cent until I get verification it is my son. I am absolutely divorcing her. She chose the stay-at-home life. She cheated, she's in trouble. Her mother has money for a couple of weeks stay, not even close enough for full-time support. If he's my son, I will absolutely be getting my rights as a father for a relationship. Last week, my soon-to-be ex-wife called. She was practically hyperventilating. She wanted to come home. She was crying, saying how it was all a mistake. She's not staying with her mother. She is at a friend's house. She wants to come home. She wants her son to have his father. I told her I do not believe he is my son. Why would she pull this if he is? Show me a paternity test and I will do everything I can for him and him only. She wants to meet tomorrow at a park so I can talk to her. I said sure, so I can finally say everything I should have said months ago to her face. My parents are hoping we can make up, but they absolutely understand if I will not. My brother is a deadbeat jerk, so I do not care what he has to say. But my sister thinks I should at least hear her out. I had to speed up the process of actually talking to her since the story spread quickly on the internet, inevitably reaching someone involved with friends or family, and now way more people I personally know are getting the details that I'm comfortable with. Oh well, my bad, LOL. Before I ended up chatting with her, I opened up to my parents and sister about what was happening in detail. My parents were flustered at me hiding the more unsavory details, to say the least, and are probably going to be checking up on me daily for the rest of the year to make sure I am okay. My sister would probably have to be held back from thrashing her, so I had to get a friend to help with the chat since my sister would not be able to contain herself. So, basically, within hours of the story going into the digital stratosphere, I called my wife back as quickly as I could to finally sit down and talk. We chose a local park this morning and I had a friend of mine record the conversation from beginning to end. I was basically ready to hear the generic affair story and get out of Dodge. But of course, it got complicated. We met at a section with picnic tables and picked one as far away from people as possible to avoid them getting wrapped up in any awkwardness. She looked terrible, haggard, stressed, and thankfully without the baby. She tried to have the big emotional chat and whatnot. I was not tearing up or acting like a hardened badass. I frankly just wanted to figure out what this was all for. I did not even get to ask the question before the floodgates spilled. I am going to attempt to relate this story as best as I can because even looking back on the recording, it is a mess. Also, it is because I do not 100% believe it, so fair warning, it could all be fake. This all started with her mother. As I said before, my wife's father was absent. He started off well, having 2 sons with her mother before her. When her mother got pregnant with her, her father went from being the picture-perfect guy he was at first and slowly changed into a negligent, abusive, unfaithful, and unsupportive jerk. And then with him disappearing when her mother was delivering. He has been in and out of prison since. No one knows why he did it. The impression her mother always gave was a strong, resilient woman who withstood anything life threw at her and did anything for her kids. She has claimed to be in therapy for years. In reality, she has managed to conceal a deep hatred for men outside of her sons, but according to my wife, there was favoritism towards her. My wife also found out she stopped therapy almost a decade ago, but never told anyone. Her mother seemed to always have some slight against me, and now I know why. She was never hostile, but certainly was not warm to me. And hearing about her secret hatred, I kind of knew where this was going. Roughly about half a year before she got pregnant, my mother-in-law slowly began sowing seeds of doubt and bitterness into my wife. Apparently, she had a full mental break. She told her about me staying late at work, possibly hiding an affair, or that myself providing the majority of the income was setting her up for a hard divorce. Everything my mother-in-law's husband did to her, she convinced my wife I would do to her, and she pumped this poison into her for months. My wife always idolized her mother, and compounding that with anxiety she has suffered from 4 years, she dove in deep. As soon as she got pregnant, like on the dot, she fell into a mental hole within days, and that is when her mother got hold of her again. Hearing about her pregnancy apparently triggered something fierce in my mother-in-law, and it spiraled from there. She had my wife fully convinced it was happening again. Every single thing my wife did to hurt me was at the behest of my mother-in-law. Combined with pregnancy hormones, an undiagnosed mental illness she claims to have, no confirmation, and stress, she completely lost her mind. She 100% believed I would bail, so she was punishing me first, culminating in her moving in with her mother and leaving me out of the birth. While I was sending the papers and starting the divorce proceedings, she kicked into a full-blown postpartum depression, and when her mother finally got her, when she finally beat me, which I guess was her victory over her ex, did I mention she's crazy? She had no more use for my wife. The family involved in the birth included my mother-in-law's sister and my wife's brothers. While my mother-in-law and her sister knew what was going on, my brothers-in-law got fed the false narrative my mother-in-law spun. When my mother-in-law was done with her plan, the entire facade came down, and my brothers-in-law found out everything upon questioning my wife. They were horrified. Needless to say, postpartum, facing a very grueling divorce on her side, no longer welcome in our home, and having done everything to alienate me from my son at the behest of a broken lunatic, reality hit her like a truck. She torched her entire life because her mother is a broken shell of a human who used her to enact her own sense of justice. The very mother who washed her hands off of her after she got what she wanted. Or at least, this is the story she gave me. Frankly, there are many holes in her story. The starting point of the pattern of abuse, the claims of who was involved in the delivery, me being absent from appointments, the friend who she confirmed is female she's staying with, and of course my alleged son's paternity. It seems way too crazy to be made up. Who the heck would go to the effort to make this up facing what she's facing? As soon as she finished, she said she's setting up a paternity test and gave me the information I need. With luck, it should be done in roughly a week or so once I do my part. She gave the most sincere apologies any human being has ever given. She has begged for another chance. I was frankly too stunned to say anything, so she left and promised to call soon. I do not think I can give her another chance. I do not think I can ever risk anything like this again. God, I am still hoping she's just being a cheating psycho and spinning a sympathy story to try and throw me off because this got way too complicated. Update. Well, this was all a fantastic waste of time. This is full of unnecessary information that does not matter, so here's what happened condensed. It took me way longer than it should have to realize I should actually call someone who saw her behavior when she left firsthand. I called one of her brothers. I basically word vomited and relayed the whole story and asked what they could verify. They could not. What actually happened? She started having an affair with a co-worker roughly 4 months before she got pregnant. He gave her the usual affair spiel about how he was better and she should go with him when she got pregnant. She immediately got it in her head to abuse me, usual affair nonsense, eventually wanting to run off with him. The day she left, she did stay at her mother's, but had all the intention to move in with him after giving birth. Before she delivers, she owns up and tells her family everything. My mother-in-law and brothers-in-law could not care less at the time. They may not be crazy, but they still did not like me. And from what she was selling to them about her affair partner, they liked him. The affair partner was at the birth, high, and tried to start a fight with them. By then, my wife already did a paternity test, and it was his. The affair partner then disappears, and she realizes she's in trouble. We have a solid prenuptial, and my house is premarital, plus we live in it at Fall State. Around that time is when I called her out and split finances. She was deep in a hole with no way out, and in her mind, pitching a drama show about her family to me made sense to get me on her side. What was the plan for my paternity test? I do not know. What was she planning for whenever I interacted with family again? I do not know. Why did her family go along with it? I do not know. How was she ever going to make up for the abuse? I don't know. Is there any truth to her tale about her mother? I have no idea. I do not care at this point. This whole problem was a desperate person and her toxic family gambling everything on a no-show, and only when they had burned all bridges with me, they tried to reconnect. I am glad I called a brother who had any decency to own up to their nonsense. He realized how deep he was and that his sister did not help with that, and he is finally done with his family's nonsense and wants to get away. He gave me a copy of the paternity test she gave to him. He sent dozens of messages she had with him and the family in a group chat. I have enough proof for my lawyer to bury her. I texted her and told her I knew everything. She has been messaging me relentlessly with the most vile things she can say. I am just forwarding it all to my lawyer. I am still in awe of how she tried to pull a last resort manipulation tactic with the story about her family. It is actually kind of disturbing, but that does not really concern me now. Docs are changed, finances are already separated, I am not on the birth certificate, and my divorce is getting ready to start. Probably will have no updates for a long time. Divorces take way longer than Reddit makes it seem to be. In any case, this was the best case scenario, and I am actually relieved that I have a clean break. She could have at least told me the truth and spared the pointless drama update, LOL. What a tangled web of deceit and betrayal. The wife's treatment of her husband throughout the pregnancy was nothing short of abusive. Her attempts to manipulate the situation and the involvement of her mother paint a disturbing picture. However, the ultimate revelation of her affair confirms the worst. The husband's decision to seek a paternity test and protect himself legally is entirely justified. He took the necessary steps to ensure his and his child's future, showing strength and resilience in the face of unimaginable betrayal. It is clear who the true victim is here, and thankfully he is moving forward with his life, leaving the toxicity behind.